In this video, I'm going to be talking about two of my very favorite trades to take. I often get asked what my favorite trading strategies are, and the answer is Wick Test and Untested Wicks, both of which we're going to be discussing in this video. This is a TBM theories video, and so we're going to be going deep into what the strategy is, how to use it, why I like it, which is repeatability and consistency. Yeah, we're going to use live examples. The markets will be moving during this video. It's from a live stream, so please sit back and enjoy this video from TBM theories. Okay, Wick Test. This is a great example of a Wick Test. You have a candle. It's a 3-bar setup, okay? The Wick Test is a 3-bar setup. Well, a 2-bar setup, 3rd bar execution, okay? If it's 4 bars, it is no longer a true Wick Test. If you're trading like an untested wick, which we saw here, that's like kind of the principle of a Wick Test. But for me, the true Wick Test is it requires 2 bars side by side. You have a bar, closes red, puts in a wick, next bar, full engulfing, okay? Then the 3rd bar, which is where the entry happens, again, if it's the 4th bar, no longer is a true Wick Test. The indicator will also fire off for it. If you have a strong engulfing candle, the next bar, what you want to see is a retrace to the prior wick for a bounce off of it. The reason I like it is because it's a very defined setup. For me, entry, prior wick, stop loss, bottom of the engulfing candle, target 1-to-1 or 10 points for me. That is a true Wick Test. It is a 3-bar setup, 1, 2, 3, right? 3 bar, the 3rd bar being your entry. If it happens on the 4th bar, it's no longer a Wick Test. First test is the best test. So if we come down here, we bounce off of the wick, we bounce 10 points or whatever, we come back down to the wick, that is no longer a Wick Test. It's the first test, the best test. It's got to be the first reaction. And it's a very defined trade, which is why I like it. So it's defined, meaning I'm trading it on the first test. If it's past that, I'm not taking the trade. I know exactly where my stop loss is going to be. You see these on shorts and longs. Ideally, it's in a trend sort of situation. It's the best in that case where it's not. I mean, it's a little rangy, right? Wick tests in the middle of a range are not necessarily the most ideal, but it's very clean. It's a very clean setup. Now, what you might see sometimes is say we put in this low, right? This low at 10, okay? 2010. We put in a low at 2010. Say we have a massive sell-off and say we slap down to 70 for this case, okay? Just as the example, we slap down to 70 or maybe even 90. Call it 90, okay? We have a 100-point sell-off, right? One candle, 100 points. Now, this is not a true Wick Test for the 2010 retrace, but it is an untested wick that we just slapped right through, right? So when we have a big red candle that slaps right through a candle that had a low that was basically untraded since then, what I would look at is if we slapped like that, I would look at a short at 2010, a retest of this entry, or a retest of this low, this wick, on a nice engulfing candle through it, and I would take the same principles as I took through the actual Wick Test. I would apply it to the untested wick here, and I would look at a short off of that. But again, it's not a true Wick Test at that point. It's an untested wick. It's something that I love to trade. Y'all see me trade that all the time, which is, heavy slap off, retest the prior low of the day, go short off of that, right? But a true Wick Test would be you're going long with the engulfing, right? So you have the prior high, we sell off the prior high, we engulf the whole thing, we come back down, test the prior high, bid it. I feel like that's a little bit more explanation than I normally give. I normally just send people to a video, but I hope that helps. It's one of my favorite setups. I prefer it on the 5-minute chart. Sometimes you see it play out on the daily, but the bigger the time frame, the more wiggle room you have to give it, and I'm not willing to do that with futures. You might see it trade on the 1-minute as well, but I've personally believed that the 1-minute Wick Tests slide around a lot more. I think it has the most validity in the 5-minute Wick Test, personally. Again, this is all just like just from me watching charts. You can trade it however you want. You can add on to it. You can take away from it. You can trade it on whatever time frame you want. Again, I'm just speaking through what I look for. I look for it on all of the untested wicks and the Wick Test. All of that for me happens on the 5-minute chart. It's one of my favorite setups. Truly. It's one of my favorites. I find it to be, it's got a decently high hit rate, and I like it because it's defined. And if you have exclamation point Sierra, the Wick Test indicator comes built into it. The one that just fired off for me, this one. And it just kind of showcases you when it's a true Wick Test, basically. Hopefully that helps. I feel like that's a pretty in-depth explanation of what I'm looking for. Again, you'll see it on different time frames, but I prefer it on the 5-minute.